Hi, everybody. Welcome. As you can see, we have some guest speakers today. We have Ivanna and Sercan, and they are going to be helping us, and we're going to be talking about prompting and tools. And hold on, sorry about that. I forgot to mute something. So I had some echo going on. Okay, so first we are going to introduce the team. I'm Steph Patterson. And then we have Ezra. We have, of course, the Flutter community, which is everybody. Then we have, Shate isn't here. Then we have Jen. Hi, everybody. And Norbert's not here. We have Simon. And Randall. And our guest speakers, Ivanna.
Hi.
And Sercan.
Hey.
Hi, everybody. Whoa, look at our long list there. So we have some do's and don'ts. And Randall, you do such a great job in Hump Day Q&A. I'm going to let you do this.
And pressure. All right.
And pressure.
Do I work well under pressure on an early Monday morning? I don't know. Here we go. We're testing this out. So again, everybody, be nice, be respectful, be constructive. You're talking to real people when you're chatting, so it's not like there's just some bots out there. Although you can't really tell I'm not a bot after all these years anyway. But again, be respectful. These are human beings you're working with. Don't post anything that's adult content or rude or offensive. We have ban hammers and we do use them. Do not advertise or promote anything. If your face isn't on the screen, you're not allowed to pitch stuff. That's the rules here. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. In particular, don't post a question and then later post the exact same question 10 minutes later, or you just lost 10 minutes of your place in line. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. Again, we do have ban hammers, but do have a good time. We have a good time doing the show, so we hope you all are having a good time enjoying along with us. How's that for on the spot?
That was awesome for being on the spot. So if you want to share code, don't share your whole URL. Go to gist, enter description, file name. You want to copy and paste the part of the URL that you see down here at the bottom, and you put that with your question that starts with a Q. And if you're new, haven't been here before, so what is the Flutter community? The Flutter community, we are partnering. We started with Google, and they are doing their agentic apps promotion. And so we partnered with them. We're now starting, ours is continuing past their program. And so it's a community involvement. So it's not just the core team that I showed earlier. So we'll have guest speakers as we do today. And we're going to see how we can explore and develop AI capabilities with Flutter apps. And we are bringing together developers who have this interest in working with AI and Flutter. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. And let's see. Let's have I went through and I just listed everybody, but can you do a little short intro on you? Because of course I can't put your bios and things like that on the slides. Ezra.
Hi, I'm Ezra Kara. I'm based in Berlin. I'm working as a senior mobile Flutter developer here, and we are doing FCAIC all together. Today, I will be also talking about a little prompt engineering for Flutter and Dart developers, a little bit more about deeper terminology, things like, okay, what is a temperature? What does it matter? How do you pick the models? How do you calculate tokens and so on? And pretty excited for today's stream. Just before the IO, I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna have a little break, but we need to actually get these stuff out.
Oh, that is a good reminder. We will not be live streaming next week because people are traveling and getting ready for Google I/O. So we won't be here next week, but we do have plans to be back the following week. Simon, if people don't know you, then
I'm Simon.
I do Flutter community.
Flutter Whisperer. I should go in and change how his name displays.
or Simon AI. He does that one.
Yeah,
that's true.
Actual plot.
Okay, Simon. Still, seriously.
No, it's fine.
Okay, Randall.
Wait, you're going out of order. I was hoping you were going across the order here. Well,
I'm doing the core team, and then we're going to do our guest speakers.
See, you're throwing me off again already. How am I supposed to respond? I didn't make it to the rehearsal. Now you're making me feel bad.
We didn't do a rehearsal. So, hey, you didn't miss much.
All right. Anyway, I'm Randall. I'm your tour guide for today. No, I've been a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert since the very beginning of the program, which is about 6 years now in terms of Dart and Flutter. And I spend a lot of my time answering questions online for everybody. I answers a few questions here, but most of what I am for this show is the question magician, which means that I am watching the chat to see who's asking questions, which I will note as a question by having Q colon, by you placing Q colon in front of it. I'm not putting Q colon in front of it. You are. And then I will flag that so that we answer those questions. Yeah, and I'm also a full-time Flutter consultant.
Awesome. Jen.
All right. So, yeah, my name is Jen. I am also Flutter GDE. I'm based in Montreal, Canada. And I was kind of guy, was a little bit skeptical on the AI and stuff. But since I think it's been 2 months, something really quite new, but I changed my mind. And now I'm really full swing in AI. And yeah, I'm happy to be here with all the folks.
Yeah, I'm with you on the still apprehensive, which is why I was asked to join this team. So that's awesome. Our guest speakers today, Ivanna, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well because the heating system in my room decided to make the weirdest noises. But yeah, I am Ivanna. I am from Latvia. I work as a lead software engineer here at a company called LMT, where I build Flutter apps in the field of innovations and IoT, actually. And sometimes I participate in some coding contests, some global hackathons, and occasionally I also speak at some Flutter conferences. And of course, I'm a Flutterista.
Yes, and she presented at our Flutterista conference. So that's awesome. Looking forward to hearing about your Flutter AI rules shortly. Sercan, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's Sercan. I guess I'm the newest member of the crew. So yeah, I'm based in Istanbul, Turkey, and also one of the organizers, GDG and DevFest Istanbul. I might you heard about it mostly, and yeah. And what I do is I actually develop Flutter since beta version. I worked on many companies in globally and like based in mostly in Turkey as well. But like on the nowadays we are working with Esra in the same way all together. And I'm passionate with AI and including AI mostly on my workflow as well. And like today, I will be happy to share my knowledge and the sites about it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing about the MCP Prompt Rules and learning about that, because don't know hardly anything about it. I'm here to learn. So if you're out there watching this and you know nothing about doing this, you are in the right spot. So let's see. First, we have a few people. We're going to sit here and chat. And I know you have to drop, Simon, but you're going to come back, right?
Yeah, I'll come back at the end. So also feels like there's a crowd here, so I'll let you guys crack on.
It's okay. No. All right. So can we talk about, oh, there he goes. Let's talk about how LLMs actually work. Ready, set, go. And Randall, you knew your name was on this one.
I knew this. Wait, am I
it's just everybody. Let's just chat about it to help people understand. So people may hear about LLM. First, what is it? And how do they actually work?
Okay, as AI newbie, I'll say I can start what I understood, right? So LLM is the large language model, meaning that it's the trained model based on really large language or the text in the world. So maybe the Google used all the Google index text data to use the training the model, or whatever they use a lot of data to train this model. And basically what it does is we just give whatever the sentence or text, then statistically it just finds the closest word, highly probable word. It's just outputting it, and then with that output it gives back to the model and then make another output. That's basically the LLM. That, and based on my understanding, I don't know what you think.
It sounds like that because it has all this text, so it's like everything out on the internet, whatever they've trained from that, and it goes out and sees like bits of code or things that match with the words that you're putting in what you're asking, or what we're talking about today, the prompt engineering. What you're doing is this prompt. Did I understand that right?
That's my understanding. So let's say if I say like that I'm Korean and I am, if I give the LLM may think that I'm Korean, so it will give the Korean after all. That's
gotcha.
What I understood.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay, Randall, what were you saying?
I was just about to say though that it's not knowledge. It's basically just fancy autocomplete. It somehow has the appearance of being smart. And it has the what do they call that? The emergent property of being smart. But really, the only reason it knows that 2 + 2 is 4 is that it's seen millions of people write 2 + 2 = 4.
So we could go 2 + 2 = 5, and if we do it enough, it'll think that.
Yes, okay. Because it has no thinking. Doesn't
it has
do
no thinking.
All it knows is the relative probability of these 10 million tokens leading up to this thing, right? And then what's the next likely set of things that might follow it? That's the entire mechanism.
So we're not Skynet yet.
We're not what?
Skynet.
No, we're not Skynet yet. Although we're getting close. We're getting close. I'm watching the countdown counter. It's getting closer and closer every day. It's
don't you think even the human is thinking like that, no? Because if we hear something information that we imagine what might gonna come out, and we're gonna reply based on that. So probably the LLM is actually something thinking like, acting like human, no? At the end.
Yes, it's mimicking well enough that it's getting close. And where the recent breakthroughs have been happening, in particular, is that's how it started, the smart autocomplete engine. But they were able to figure out that by instructing it, by giving it some prefixes in their sort of system prompt originally, and we'll talk about system prompt in a few minutes as well. But when they put certain instructions in there, then as it's auto-completing, it can appear to act reactive to things it has already just computed, in the sense that you can say, make sure that everything is correct by going out and doing Google searches, right? And so you can get that as part of the auto-completion. All of a sudden now it's rethinking, thinking in a strange word there, it's reevaluating, and that's a little weird, that things it's already said, and it might amend those as a result. And that's where we've gotten the best breakthroughs. We've invented chain of thought, which means that we can actually have it go through and do an analyze, research, conclude, summarize as steps. We can teach it the steps as a sequence. It knows sequences because that's all it knows how to do. Anything at all is sequences. It will run that sequence then on everything it's figured out and use that as feedback to itself, and then combine those, because again, it's all still, though, ultimately, what's the most likely thing to follow all of this, whatever this was.
I really like the explanation. I really like the explanation of IntelliSense. That actually helped. Ivanna, Sercan, Ezra, what do you have? Your additional takes on it? Thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it's not technically predicting or taking words as an input. It's tokens, and tokens are like little parts of words, which is interesting about it. But also, I saw a comment online when someone was saying like, well, it's just predicting tokens, so it's not smart. And someone replied, well, aren't we all just predicting tokens, right? So, I mean, I can see the point of people also learning in a similar way as LLMs. So I don't think we are that far away from Skynet, actually.
Yep. Okay. Now we're in Skynet. And if you don't know our references to Skynet, you need to go watch the movie The Terminator. And then a few
all the movies.
all
the good ones.
Actually, I should have worn my Skynet hoodie. Actually, I had it. My
there you go.
hoodie.
Oh, that's awesome. Sercan, Ezra.
Sercan, you can give it a start.
Yeah, like mostly like language based and token dedicated answers, like returning to us, and my path on that, like the tokens actually not mostly answers. The tokenization on that is actually the counting the how much that cost, or like the not the cost but the number equivalents or what we get, like what we sent and what we get, so the whole process can be calculated and can be priced for that, like not based on money but based on energy, mostly that we call CPU or GPU on that part.
Actually, about the terms and the flow, in the upcoming presentation now about prompt engineering for Flutter and Dart developers, then we also have like token descriptions, LLM descriptions, and so on. So I don't want to actually spoil some content out beforehand, but what I would say is LLMs, like at least just LLM scope, don't think, they just like predict, as we mentioned, like next token based on what's like come before. They just trained over like billion of code snippets, documentations, conversations, more, and like it's just like breaks down into tokens and then just like processes that, to be honest.
There's a couple of other major breakthroughs that happened that also enabled AI to be even much more useful, even in the last 6 months. And that is that beyond autocomplete, beyond chain of thought, the idea of function calling was introduced. And that is, we instructed the LLM that if you output something of this shape, I'll go look it up in Wikipedia for you and give you back the answer as my next prompt. And that ability to have the LLM be curious and ask the outside world about something. Opened up a whole new arena of things. And then that got about a lot more standardized in terms of what a function interface looks like. So all the major players adopted this same sort of style of when it looks like this XML text, it's asking for a particular operation.
Mm-hmm.
And once that was standardized, MCP came along and sits on top of that. And MCP is a way of writing a standardized bit of code that looks at standard in and writes to standard out, or looks over a socket and writes back to that socket, to actually do this sort of function calling where the LLM can tap out and go look up something in Wikipedia, or tap out and say, invoke something on GitHub. And that gives a full range of agentic possibilities, bringing us to why we're doing these things now, which is that we can have IDEs now, or interactive interfaces of some kind, that talk to an LLM, give it tools via MCP, and then do everything on your system, including create files, push releases. Anything you want can now be accessed by the LLM, hence Skynet. So that's where it's coming from. Is we're going to wire up one too many of these MCPs, and it's going to have its own capability to launch missiles, and then we're in trouble.
So basically, MCP doesn't have the memory, so he doesn't remember anything. So whatever we give them, he just use it temporarily, and then he will not remember anything. So actually, he doesn't have actually training himself capability. So even as a human, we give whatever the information to the LLM, he doesn't know anything. Because of that, he cannot do anything else than he trained. So that's why we are using the MCP, we are using the reg or different thing. We connect together with the LLM to do more things, right?
Okay. So next, Ezra, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Which model is preferred in which context?
Actually, like, as I mentioned, I have a table for that in the slideshow, but roughly what we can say is it really depends on the context that you want to use, what you are going to do next, and what you are looking for. I will be showing more, but what I can say is Gemini is more useful when you need like massive context window, code understanding. If you are doing like large project refactoring, pattern analysis of what you do, Gemini would be a like good call there. I'm using GPT-4 for like precise code, a little bit documentation, while I'm implementing a widget, doing some architectural changes, simple stuff, and writing a feature. I go there. Of course, cloud is totally, that would be a use case for sure. Personally, I'm not using it myself. Like right now, I'm like have a good setup with Gemini, Cursor, and Sonnet 3.7. And then it's just like, that's how it flows for me overall. But thank you for taking the page.
You're welcome. Do you have more? Do you want me to take it off?
Yeah, like it's actually overall the start that we have temperatures and like prompt engineering. Then we can like search there after the questions probably.
Okay. We'll get ready for that shortly. Do we have any questions? I'm not seeing anything queued up. Okay, awesome. So best prompt. Best prompting practices and techniques. Anybody? Sercan, Ivanna.
Best prompting techniques.
Ezra.
So basically, like I'm gonna give you the explanation over Cursor because like we can use like prompting on any LLM at the moment, and we have to be basic, like talking like to a child, like to a childish thing, like to be basic to understand every corner. But when you get your context getting bigger inside that conversation, you can like use simpler and much like complex things to the LLM that it can understand you based on context you gave it before, like on the earlier conversation. So that's why my thoughts and my stuff on there will be like, when you start a first conversation to do anything with your LLM, like go basic, like tell, like for example on coding, give the class names, give the like functions, tell what you want exactly, and like with examples. But on the later times on the same conversation, you can get more complex, like you can be more complex, like you can just say like fix it, because it know what to fix based on the earlier conversation, like, and the earlier context. So mostly I can say like based on the prompting like that. Like for example, you can say like, I want to create a like download service, and you can create AI, like create UI such a like that on the Flutter. And after that, like on the later conversation, you can say like, just I want to make a download button on that part, and it will understand you that you will use your download service you created like 5 minutes ago with that button.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Ezra, do you have any thoughts on that? Prompting?
Oh, no, not extra, Ivanna.
Yeah, okay. Ivanna?
My take is that you can treat your LLM as employee and you being a manager. And if you treat it like that, it becomes easier to make them do what you want, just like with employees. You have to think about it as junior, which means that when you define a task for your employee, you have to think in advance what can go wrong. And as a good manager, you will think about it and you will warn it where to be careful and what to be careful about. So if we are talking about Flutter coding here, you will say things like, please make sure 1, 2, 3, also make sure 4, 5, 6, etc. So I think if you think about it as an employee, it helps.
Also along that line, for a project, you'll have probably a set of standard rules that you'll want to apply pretty much in every prompt. Like this is the, like if we're doing Flutter, like this is the state management system we use. This is the file architecture locations we want to use for new files. And you can put all that into a file and just either automatically for many of the LLMs, or you can manually add it to the context of your prompt. So that way it becomes sort of like the overarching, keep this in mind when you're working on this. And you don't have to keep repeating that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stuff in every single prompt explicitly. You just have to remember to include the context file, or hope that there's an automatic way of doing that.
Okay. Awesome. So
what's even more fun is you can have the AI edit the context file too, edit that file and say, make it better, explain more, or ask me if you don't get it from this. And it will ask you, it'll go, I don't understand what provider means here or whatever. And it's really, really bizarrely great at all this so far. It's magic to me, but it works.
Okay. My most recent use with an AI was asking it to do something, and it did the complete opposite. And I said, you didn't do it right, and told it again, just because I'm testing it here. And and then it didn't do it right again. And so my response back was, okay. I said, well, since you can't get this, I'm going to go ask another AI.
Ooh.
Oh, and then it came back with exactly what I was looking for. And I'm like,
I can do it.
Exactly. It was like, seriously?
Nice.
You couldn't just bring this up to begin. You just want to charge me tokens. Exactly. That was exactly my thought.
That should be your standard. That should be
Sorry?
your standard prompt then. It should be your standard prompt. If you don't get this right, I'm going to ask ChatGPT.
That's a good point. I'll have to keep that in mind.
But actually, that's a really interesting point because there's many kinds of the prompt trick I've seen in the internet. But what I was thinking interesting is that just by adding the word like explain me step by step, just like that one sentence, just adding that give you better the quality of the data. I mean the result. Or you just ask them to please will give you actually better result. So that's quite interesting point. Yeah.
Or a really great trick is to say, don't do anything yet, just show me your plan. And then it goes through all the planning and then stops there and waits for you to say something like, okay, go ahead with that. Or no, I was really thinking you'll do this instead of that. And you can mutate the plan before it takes any single action, which is really nice. Yeah.
So we have a question. Hi, Rona.
We do.
Speaking of Rona.
Yes.
She's done an amazing job. She designed our, it's that way, our logo. She's done a lot of work. So thank you, everyone, thank Rona. So anyway, her question, what do you all think about the article that came out last week about the cost of saying please and thank you in prompts?
I mean, I would say that's a fun example, but something technically true. It's a little bit overhyped by the headlines, but yes, polite language, definitely like tokens to your request. But yeah, more tokens just means higher cost, especially like if you're going for pay per token or something. But
just a few tokens.
Single please is just adds one token and then it's the fractions of a cent. But real cost problems is not coming from just like writing please. It's more like long context chains that they are using, verbose examples they are putting there, like, or they are just trashing a huge code dump in there. That's actually the cost that they have. Like, if they have issue with that, then they can just like optimize the structure, not just the wording. Structure costs way much more than just writing please.
But actually, that's true and false in my opinion, because when you say, let's say you already have the result, and then let's say you say thank you, meaning that you are sending back whole context again to the LLM. So actually, it costs quite depending on how
I'm
much.
not saying it's wrong. I am saying that that should be optimized. Like that's the wrong thing. Like you don't need to thank. Like that's the case.
Just as an aside, though, I do find that I'm talking to my Apple device. I'm not going to mention the lady's name that will trigger it, but when I'm talking to that Apple device and triggering the responses, if you don't say thank you at the end, it's still listening for a while. The moment you say thank you, it goes, "You're welcome," and hangs up right away. So it actually does have a value in talking to an Apple device.
Because
if you get pissed off at it and start swearing at it, it'll also hang up.
It's not really? Oh, I haven't tried that. I don't think I will. I think
I actually said that. I said something to her about being a stupid. Not gonna say the word here because of course we have our do's and don'ts. Yes. And then it's like. Yep. I'm not saying it works all the time, but it did when I did it one other time. Okay. Right. Thank you for your question, Rona. Okay. So Sercan.
There's another question too.
Oh, another question. Oh, okay.
Here, let me put that up.
There we go.
What is your monthly spending on LLM services? Always too much. What is cost efficient currently for individual developers? Well, it depends on where you are and how much money you have. Right.
And what LLM you're using too, right? Yeah. I mean, there are free ones. You have, X amount of tokens, like 1 million for Gemini Flash 2.0. Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't go crazy because you can run out, but that's free. I mean, I do not pay for any of the AI work that I do because I'm still not sold. So there was Simon shared something with me because we were looking at how to do our social media and kind of like what we did with the Flutterista conference, but looking for a a more economical way to do it. And he found an open source, but it there was something about it, and I honestly can't remember. So I did my own coding, and I basically started and said, okay, convert this to Flutter and Dart. And I got partway through it. I ran out. I was using my free stuff. And so it's like it was like to a point. But it was like, okay, no problem. And I just moved on with whatever I needed to do that day. So there are sources out there that you can use that don't cost you anything.
Yeah, I'm primarily cheap, which means that I'm using, I'm not using Cursor. I'm not using any paid solution for an IDE. I'm basically using RooCode together with VS Code, together with both the 2.0 Flash and the 2.5 Pro models of Gemini that have a free tier. They're rate limited and limited to so many per day, but I tend to get almost all my work done within that. I also have a way of changing that so that it's the paid version. If in case I run out of hits in a day, I go ahead and click on the paid version, which I've got some cloud credits for, so I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, I use the free stuff, and it seems to be working pretty well.
So those who pay, what's your monthly spending?
I do pay. Maybe I shouldn't now, listening to everyone. But my subscriptions are Claude, which I rarely use on the web nowadays. So I'm thinking maybe about canceling that. I also am still subscribed to Midjourney, which is not an LLM. So it's just an honorable mention here, but I do pay for it. And also I consider to cancel. Canceling subscription can be like, very procrastinating experience. You just think about canceling them and you never do that. And the third thing is Windsurf, because I experimented with Cursor, Windsurf, VS Code, and kind of sticked with the Windsurf. So I do pay the monthly subscription for it, but I do not order extra credits. If I run out of them, I just switch to Cursor and VS Code in that case.
Okay.
Smart.
Sercan,
once you discover, just let me follow up to that for a second. Once you discover desktop commander MCP with Roo, you'll never go back to Cursor and those guys again, because you have all the same activity directly from an MCP. It's so nice. Anyway,
I still want it in VS. I still want it in IntelliJ. I may do that. So RooCode, which we talked about some last week, and Randall's going to be talking about some of the RooCode rules and prompt engineering there later. But I use RooCode as well because Randall helped me set that up, and Gemini Code Assist and ChatGPT, and all within VS Code. But then when I take the code and I'm going to go edit or do anything, I actually open the exact same project in IntelliJ because I use IntelliJ for my development. I really need RooCode to have an extension for IntelliJ. So if anybody out there knows them, strongly encourage them, please.
Well, it was forked from Klein, and I think Klein is working to make a JetBrains plugin.
Gotcha.
So that might be your solution eventually.
So monthly cost, Ezra, Sercan, if you want to share.
For me, actually it depends how many projects you run concurrently in the same time, because it's I have 3 screens on my in my front, and I can run 3 at the same time. But
boy,
most of that, I have a Cursor subscription. Mostly I'm running out of the tokens and of the free tier, of the paid tier, and I'm paying mostly extra $10 per month, and it's become 30 for me. But rather than that, I'm mostly paying off the image generation and the open API, etc., based on the based on my side projects. For example, like last month, I was like trying to do some image generation app, and I paid like many dollars to the Open API and like Fall AI to like just train and do some image generation on that. But yeah, it's around $50 per month. We can say that.
Yeah, I would say like similar range, and I'm not also just using for code generation. Like I pay like AI tools or like AI generative tools. Like yes, Cursor is one of them. Gemini is one of them. Canva Pro, Figma Pro, one of them. They also have like AI enhanced features that I use for like business reasons, social media stuff, community stuff. Like yeah, many subscriptions, at least like 60, and then the special ones are just like cherry on top, I would say.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on. Did we covered everything with best prompting practices, Ezra?
Yeah, we have a slide for that actually.
Okay.
Then
Yep.
yeah, then we can discuss. Yeah. Meantime, anyone can just like add on top of this. We can keep it interactive because there is a lot of stuff that we mentioned, and you can also like however you prefer. So today, especially in this session, we would like to talk, of course, we already have lots of questions answered about prompt engineering, but now with this slide, we will go a little bit deeper than the beginner level. I mean, of course, we're going to see from zero to hero now a little bit, but we will also see some research level and engineering level extra information in this. And
Oops.
there we are.
That's
sorry.
the wrong one. Mine. Okay. Sorry.
Meantime, like any of the people in the studio, just feel free always to just jump out. There is a prompt engineering. Directly, we can actually start from here. There is a white paper already published for that, and we have a couple resources. Let me just share one of them, and I will just share another screen. Present. This will be, I guess, probably I will be switching between screens right now. But so there we have the prompt engineering. I will directly proceed from some of the official resources so that you can actually go and check further, because we have like 20 minutes to go through, then we will switch to other stuff. So prompt engineering, as we mentioned, like art and literally science of designing and optimizing prompts for AI models, particularly LLMs that we mentioned, towards generating desired responses. There is already introduction to prompt design resource that you can go and check. It's in generative AI on Vertex AI in Google Cloud. You can also learn more about prompt engineering strategies, task-specific prompt guidance, and like further. You will see a lot of prompt engineering examples and details here. But the stuff that we mentioned was more of, for example, types of prompts. We talk about direct prompts. We talk about a little bit chain of thought prompts and zero-shot prompts. We will see some examples about this. But what we also talk in the beginning, while given the roles, we also give them some scenarios. So prompt engineering, actually, overall, if I share the other screen back, I'm wondering whether I should just like share entire screen at this point.
You can if you want to. There's no privacy or anything. Like we care more about protecting your privacy.
Sure, I'm that. I think I'm just like giving the entire screen, then we can move around better. Okay. So there we are. Yeah. So we were actually going for like prompt engineering, and the white paper is definitely something you can always check. I will give the link of it in the chat, and entire documentation is also in here, from prompt engineering itself to sampling controls, temperature. We will talk also the statistics part about it. Then you will see like even example of zero-shot prompting and something. This is like entire, let's say, science area that you need to actually check further and see how much you would like to do. Because to use that in your Flutter environment, then you actually don't need to know all of them in deep, but as much as you know, then you can go more advanced and use it better, use it more economically, use it for your own good, let's say. And
Can I
that's
add
why.
one tip?
Sure.
May I add
please.
one tip? So actually, I tried to. I mean, this is PDF file, right? So actually, I added this into
Yes.
Notebook LM.
Oh, I was about to say that.
Oh yeah, same thing. Yeah.
It's already in Kaggle. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made it as podcast, and then it actually in 10 minutes I had a lot of understanding about prompt.
Yeah,
engineering.
Yeah,
It was
totally.
really amazing.
Notebook LM is remarkable, and it's free so far.
Okay,
They
so
don't figure out
explain
they
what.
can charge for it.
Okay, explain what Notebook LM is. Anytime we have a new term, I'm going to ask you to do that. So what's
Yeah,
Notebook LM?
Notebook LM is Google AI service that actually how can I say it? You can add different sources, and then you can ask question to the AI basically.
So
And then Notebook LM has feature to create podcast out of the source I provided, and I really like that the feature.
So you can create your study guides here, get the
Yep.
answers, listing them on the go. So it's notebookllm.google.
Yeah, it's basically a learning assistant. It's really, really good because you can throw 20 or 50 sources, I forget the upper limit, at it, and it'll even find the sources Googling for you. You can type in a topic and it will find sources based on that. And then it creates a body of knowledge that you can then build a 15-minute podcast with two people discussing various key topics. You can even focus those by adding instructions before you do that. You can generate FAQs, you can generate quizzes, you can generate study guides, you can ask it arbitrary questions against the documentation. This is too amazingly cool to be free. I've been learning stuff using Notebook LM. I've been putting all of my major things, like I'm learning DaVinci Resolve, which is a video editing system, video editing suite. I just put all the docs in there and I say, tell me about how to do color correction. And it just generates all the text that I need to know because it looks it all up in the reference docs. It's way cool. Yeah.
So that was also part of Notebook LLM. Like we just started with the prompt engineering, went to white paper in there. And there is another terminology that we use a lot today, which is token. Then when we go for, okay, what is token? Then we go for saying like pieces of words. Now we are bringing more actually like literal definitions of what are tokens and how to count them. Then you can actually go for seeing one token is almost like 4 charts in English, then 100 tokens, 75 words, or like this is actually from OpenAI articles that they have. And this is actually how it's calculated. But you can also see if you have the progress bar of like how much your prompt costed, like say as a token. It's not even directly the cost. It depends from system to others. But it's overall, let's say, the word value of your prompt overall. And when we go for understanding tokens, then we go for context window dynamics. Then we go for, sorry, that was me double clicking. Then we go for like from 8K to 1 million token capacity for the work that you do. And then, of course, as much as like considering your prompts and the context you have, the position matters. The early information you provide has higher importance because it is more relevant of what you ask, they say, because the other prompts goes like a following and a little bit expanding. And the most recent context, like what happened latest, has the strongest influence. So what we can think, like as much as you talk longer, the mid context is getting lost a little bit or slightly getting a little bit less important than ever before, or at least one step before. And in Flutter, what we also see the most is sending specific widget treats instead of like entire file to like, it's easier. It's given more accurate results because you are more closer to the context that you are looking for and more targeting it. It can use its resource better. And then of course, when you prioritize architecture in your prompts over implementation details, then you see that at least the code is good, then it can do a little bit polishing later. And that's why when they are announcing the Gemini in 2.5, when they mention like, oh, 1 million token context window, everybody was like, okay, but what does it actually mean? That's why actually the 1 million token window is super important. And that's why it was a little bit game changer there in the token area, let's say like token context window part. But right now, we also see in the official article 2 million coming soon, which we didn't see the announcement, which we have, I assume. I don't know when will it be, to be honest. Like it's not like exposure or like anything, but yeah, there will be even more tokens coming. And when we go for the 2.5 thinking model, that's why when we see this, can you see? Yeah, exactly. You can see
you
it.
zoom in a
Very
little bit?
tiny.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
No, I was trying to see like whether I can show you the main article. There in the release, they was mentioning like in LM Arena, we got a #1 in the leaderboard.
Cool.
That's why this article was actually pretty important to show how Gemini 2.5 went further in covering. But as much as you could get more terminology, then you will be more able to read this graphs and let's say analyzes, benchmarks that you have. So now we see like Arena score, organization, the votes per models that we see like, oops, there we are. Gemini 2.5 Pro is in the preview version, is in the first rank. Then we also have like O3, then ChatGPT 4o latest, then Grok 4.5 premium, the flash preview. Like it's all models are actually have varieties in between. Like Pro preview versus flash preview has differences, but you will see those details in their docs and further. But how we end up here, we were talking about the tokens and we see the more token context window. So now in this presentation, we see a little bit of there and here and there so that you can understand when Ivanna and Sercan is talking about rules, tokens, stuff, then you can actually see, okay, this could be about here. And maybe in their setup, you may hear some temperature wording. And temperature is a parameter controlling the creativity of the randomness of the text generated. Of course, here is the technical part, but if I show you directly with an example, we can go check the right one. I mean, the right picture on the right side, like Jin mentioned. For example, when you say, I am a, and if you go for a probability distribution about what is generated, as much as you have the higher temperature, you will see it is getting more random. So when a person writes like, I am a, then it like, normally it suggests something like, yeah, user can be right human. User can write chicken, can be an animal, potato, planet, Frankenstein. Like it is just like trying to come up with solutions. But when you play with the temperature and top p-value there, we can also talk about it a little bit. Then you can actually shape the output, let's say, or give some clues about how do you want to get the output. Higher temperature values will give you more diverse and creative output, while lower temperature values, by the way, right now we mostly see temperature value between 0 and 1 here, at least in our cases. So when it's lower temperature, then the output will be more deterministic and focused on what you actually gave. It will be literally less creative. If we go for some of the examples, then we will see that based on the temperature, the sampling and the style is changing. Yeah, for example, I can show this one, I guess. There we are. So we have temperature 02, 05, 1, 20, 50, 100. Of course, like this is a little bit more probabilistic version. That's why it is not between 0 and 10, but you can actually make a little correlation in between. Then you see as much as you increase the temperature when it goes to the top, then all of them get like way much more possible and close to each other, because now it's not like trying to stick to what it can be. So you actually change the accuracy or output value here by playing with the temperature. So I would go for like in also Flutter, if you're going for deterministic, like specifically the code and widget generated for you, I would go for low temperatures. And if I am going for creative solutions, user experience, design, UI stuff, the things that I'm working, it can come up with more complex creative solutions with multiple approaches that I can evaluate, then I would like to have higher temperature. So that would be the temperature word that we are hearing all the way around when you see these numbers. That would be like how creative it should be, how it should actually, how much it should listen to your prompts. We can simply even say that. Of course, I will leave the links later for the people who wants to go deeper in AI and machine learning part, like the terminology part. But as a Flutter developer, what you can see is like, yeah, if it is low, it is closer to my prompt. If it is high, it's a little bit more creative. Consider my prompt. This is how you can play with the temperature value. And of course, there is types of prompts. I will skip this one because as I see Ivanna is already covering some parts. But different prompt model links are there. You will see them again in prompt engineering link. And prompt techniques. For example, one of them I use is role prompting. Then I'm like giving some specific things. You are a senior Flutter developer with 5 years experience, specializing clip, and it just gets a role. And then a bit after the role, then I just like ask some stuff to do to it. The prompt techniques, we will also see them a lot in the prompt engineering AI guide that we have there. We have scenarios of like question answering, open-ended questions, specific questions, hypothetical, code generation, image generation, like tons of, let's say, tips and tricks that you can see both in white paper, both in here, both we will listen from our speakers. As much as you just provide more relevant facts and data, it gets better. If it knows the specific sources and documents, it gets better. How to optimize your few-shot prompting, how to like go for iteration and benefits of prompt engineering. You will also see a lot of things there. It's a good area. You can also like go a little bit cost efficient or like solution based. For Flutter development, I found specifying expertise in clean architecture, state management patterns I use, testing fields. It's given me way much more sophisticated and nuanced responses than like just generic prompting. That's just like works better. And I put sometimes effective constraints. Then I am giving a model a clear boundaries to work within. Then it prevents it making assumptions that might not fit like what I'm talking about. Sometimes I'm saying like only use the Flutter SDK, follow the single responsibility principle, provide clear error messages. Like when I draw around, then it's like way better. You are not asking for just form validation, but you are specifically saying, I need this dependency, this principle, this functionality, testability. This leads way much more usable code. That's what we like more. Sorry, I forgot to switch this part, my bad. And when we go for model comparison, model family comparison, we talk about it slightly in the beginning. But yeah, Gemini is super powerful there with the million token context window. GPT and GPT-4o excelling really good in producing precise Flutter code. I think it's my best combination right now. I'm also using like Claude, like no, I use a Sonnet 3.7 also. Like that's also pretty much my favorite right now. But the key inside here, you need to match the model based on your specific need rather than using just one of them for everything. Otherwise, like you have a like either higher cost for just like if you want to just write comments to your code, or if you want to make a quick fix, just make it with O3 or like a super simple model. Even like a free versions can just like solve it. You don't need to put an agent like thinking model or something pro there to just like write a command. It's just like, I think we will talk more about token economy of like the cost of the approach, like how much it costs when you do something, when you prompt something, how much it costs. We will probably be talking about these kind of terms. But with this slide, we talk about a little bit prompt engineering, directing AI too much. We go through a little bit token, context windows, what does it mean? How does it work behind the rules? What was the temperature mean in that like mathematical, let's say, formulas that we see? Different models, constraint setting. These resources, I think we will just like put them to somewhere in Flutter forum or like as a post. But this is actually, let's say, pre-information that you can see right now. And now hope you can understand better and easier Ivanna's and Sercan's prompting and rules about what it's going to do, what does it mean when they switch to mode? What will it do? Then I hope that will be a little bit more clarifying. I would be really happy if any of you is also like playing with the temperature settings in the demo, but if not, we can definitely put it to our like a next demo for sure, like or next stream somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you. So are there any questions?
We have 3. We can probably like tackle those now if you want. I was just waiting for a good breaking point before we switch subjects like that. So here's one. What's the best practice concerning the use of enterprise data in conjunction with general purpose LLMs? And this is mostly a concern when you're using the free services, because nothing in the world is free. It's costing a lot of energy for all these things to happen. But places offer essentially a free LLM, typically because they're using it to train their data on it, or train their LLMs on your data with your data. Generally, the paid ones, I know at least particularly with Gemini, if you're paying for it, they're not using any of that to train anything. But anybody who has a concern about their enterprise stuff leaking needs to pay attention to whether they're training with it or not.
I think many companies actually they have their own setup for the AI model. So for example, my company have like the approved models and then the system. So we are only allowed to use those kind of AI model in which system. For example, Vertex AI and Gemini 2.5, for example, then we can only use that in specific GCP project, Vertex AI, Gemini 2.5, that model, for example. So that depending on the company, they might have different strategy, but I mean, it has to be compliant with the enterprise, the policy.
Right.
You could also try standalone models that are open like Gemma and deploy them to your server, because no cloud, no privacy concerns. You can run everything in isolated setup.
Yeah.
If you got a fast machine.
I mean, you can always invest to a machine or have it in your own server.
Yeah, true. All right, enough on that. Let's go to the next one. How are your experiences with AI reinventing the wheel rather than using existing packages? This is like a problem with Flutter and Dart and things, and actually everything, because it doesn't have available in its context every possible package that's out there, every possible library that's out there. So I've found having to nudge it to say, go to PubDev and look this up and use this package for this application. And then it's pretty good at that. It's pretty good once you give enough context that it knows what the next solution is. Again, think of this as like an assistant who doesn't know anywhere near what you know, but can be pointed at things, and it can learn those real quick, and now it knows that, make me a helicopter pilot or whatever, like in the Matrix, right? So that kind of thing.
I like when Ivanna said, think about it as you're the manager, and this is essentially your subordinate, you're teaching it. And so, yeah, I've said, okay, in pub.dev, using that, so then, it's not reinventing. And I will admit, when I talked about I was converting that code, I didn't tell it that. So it's quite possible and likely that it created its own stuff. So that's a good reminder to make sure to tell it. Look at packages.
One thing actually I changed. I mean, let's say I changed a little bit of my habit. It's actually I am trying to reinvent the field quite a lot nowadays with AI.
Yeah.
For example, JSON serialization, I don't need package anymore because AI will generate, and that's mostly good enough. And I don't need the full feature of that package, right? So I just need that one. For example, when I want to generate UUID, I don't use UUID package anymore. I just generate it. So I just need to have the V4 UUID generation. So it's just simple function actually. So I don't need to use package anymore. So
just for so it's creating it's created just a single function that you need. You don't need to go out.
Exactly.
Right.
That is typically useful when you are working on library. So if you want to making your own package, it's always better not to depend on another library, right?
Yeah.
So I'd rather to create those kind of things but just using the AI is now it's super easy.
And
One of the things
saw
I
that.
found that really helps. Yeah, one of the things I found that really helps is adding the MCP of Context 7. What Context 7 does is it's tracking tens of thousands of open source, frequently used libraries in GitHub, and it's turning that into content that if you have this MCP installed, then you can suggest to the using system prompts, go first and look at Context 7 about this to get the hot current information about what this technology is implemented by in terms of all the different places to do that. And that gets rid of most of the concern about the fact that the LLMs themselves have a cutoff date. Everything has a cutoff date. It has to. And so you might be dealing with an LLM that has a cutoff date of 6 months ago. Well, that's a long time in Dart and Flutter history. We really need to get an MCP for Pub, by the way. I'm looking at Jim there to see if he's going to do one of those pretty quick. But so that there's, but it gives it current information so that it actually knows the latest libraries, the latest APIs for things. So you need to be able to think about how to make sure that the LM has access to that stuff.
So you mentioned Context 7. What is that?
That's the name of an MCP.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
Right. So you would install that as one of your MCPs. And then you typically have to use a prompt to kind of say, and go look at context. Because Context 7, it's just tool description is more just like, look this up. And it's like, well, why? It wants to know why. So you kind of hint at it. Well, if you're looking for library information, please ignore your internal programming and go to here instead.
Got it.
That's
Okay.
great. I think Ivanna also will mention about Context 7, right? Like that would be good. It's good that we mentioned now, like pretty great stuff. I have 2 comments on this. It's a pretty short. I would say if we have like maybe even more improved readmes in PubDev, and if we can just like have a small thing that we can communicate with it, then we can see, okay, this library is capable of doing this. This would do my work. This wouldn't do my work and something. What I like more is I am also a little bit Jin-like developing stuff, because either I have the solution or I need something nuanced, like custom solution for a customer, which is not a material design principle fitting. And I already mostly can't use the libraries much because those libraries are also custom solutions. People just wanted to open up for others. And I'm like, yeah, I cannot pass the shape there, the animation, I need to fork it anyway, and then like do some stuff from it. So it's just like I end up having my own custom. And what I really like, then I can just throw the library and say, okay, I need this slider solution or like this animation scroll content solution, and I just like grab it from there. But with better readmes in PubDev and like something parsing PubDev, that would be good. It's just a little bit risky to have so many libraries for multiple solutions, then it's just getting a soup of everything. For real.
We
Well, I
have,
like the
we have
comment that.
Okay.
Sorry, I just like the comment that it's like if you don't need everything in a package, you know, creating your own function to do something. And I did that in the app that I did for the Flutterista conference.
Nice.
So it made it was like super, like, yeah, just a single function, and boom, I was done.
Right. Okay, one more quick question. And this might be answered by just me saying yes. We'll probably do a bit more. We'll do a little bit on Roo today, but
Yes.
do we, Steph? Do we want to do like dedicate like a half hour to going through like detailed conversations with Roo and all that stuff? Maybe next time.
Yeah, we can do that. We can add that. We also talked about it last week, where we had added it to VS Code. It was on our first live stream. We didn't go into all of the details. Like I had already gotten my API key and stuff like that, but yeah, it's in there. We'll also
so go back and see the previous show.
Go back and watch the previous show. We do have a playlist on YouTube for our live streams. So yes, you can find it there also. Oh, hold on.
Okay, we're caught up with questions, so let's move forward.
Perfect. So next we have Sercan presenting on MCP rules. And I'm going to take everybody else off screen. And Jen, you have to leave shortly, right?
Yes, actually, I was about to leave. So I really want you to watch this session, so I'll catch up later for sure.
Okay.
Steph, I think we should take Ivanna first because she's gonna tell about cursor rules, like the rules and.
Okay, perfect. That's fine.
So like MCP is like the
follow on. Okay.
The later thing from them. So yeah,
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jen, for joining us today. I will see you next week at I/O.
Yes.
We have to get together.
Yes,
yes.
I/O.
And okay, Ivanna, we're going to let you take the stage. And
okay, I'm ready.
Okay, and let me find your screen. There we go. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I prepared a little presentation on my topic that is about the rules that we apply in Windsurf or Cursor for our LLMs. And the problem, as Yusuf already mentioned, is that sometimes our models, they get confused and you have to threaten them that you will go and ask other model, or in my case, you just being rude to them and say, this test is useless. And they reply, you are correct. And then something else doesn't work. And they say, you are right. You are right. You are absolutely right. And it's nice to always be right. I'm not going to complain about that, but I also wish that the model would actually work better. So what I normally found myself doing is that I would open the docs, the pubdev, some libraries, README, maybe Dart style or Flutter architecture docs or Riverpod or Block, you name it. And then I would either copy paste that into my chat if it's on the web or into my agent chat, or I would just save PDF because that's what you can do in the browser. You can just print to PDF and save that, and then again feed that into my model. And then I would repeat it all over again for different contexts, for different questions with my LLMs. And that got me thinking, how can I automate this? Because as developers, when we repeat something over and over again, we always think about how do I automate? So what if I would use only the official docs, Flutter, Dart, maybe a couple of popular libraries, and I would format them as simple files under 6,000 characters. And I will tell you just in a moment why that is an important number. And I will keep them in my repository to share with my team, or I would upload them to my custom GPT projects or Claude project, whatever you are using to generate your code. And that's how I came up with the whole Flutter AI rules idea. And actually, there are two ways of storing rules in both Cursor and Windsurf. There is the old way where we only got two files to work with, one of them being the project rules and another one being kind of the global settings that you would use for the whole idea. So the project rules are scoped to this concrete repository or project that you are working on. And the global rules are the rules that you will use across all the projects. Every possible project that you will open in this IDE will follow this global rules. But this is actually legacy because recently we got updates and now the rules look a bit different. So the new way for both of these tools is that you can keep different rules under certain directory that is very similar. In Cursor, it's Cursor rules. In Windsurf, it's Windsurf rules. And there are different types of rules that you can use. So first of them is always on, and this is similar as the old way that I just showed you. So it's like a project rules that are always applied. Now it's configured by always on flag. Second way is actually glob pattern based, where you can use globs to define the rules that will only be considered if the file is matching some pattern. So you could be using them for things like .dart or _test.dart or something like that, _block, whatever you can come up with. Then we have the third way, which is agent requested, or in Windsurf, it's called model decision. And that's where the model can decide whether or not it will apply the rule. So it's kind of like tool calling, and you have to define the conditions under which the model will decide whether or not the rule should be applied. And you write those conditions right there in your rules. And then we have a fourth way, which is manual, when you keep the rules here in the same rules folder, but you only activate them if you mention them explicitly. And this one is a bit weird for me because this is what you could do also before if you would just mention any file or your project documentation or maybe some markdown. So I am not really sure that it's very beneficial to keep it under this specific folder, but you can do that and you can activate them manually. So the limitations and the reason why I wanted to stay under the 6,000 characters are coming from the Windsurf initially, because they limit each rule file to this 6K chars. And the priority will be given to your global rules, which is rules for whole Windsurf IDE that you apply to every project. Only after then, the second priority will be given to your project rules that you can define in that special rules folder. And with Cursor, it's not as strict, but in the docs, they say keep rules concise and under 500th line would be a good target, which is normally even less than Windsurf. So if we can stay under 6K characters, then we are good. So how do you actually get the official docs to your project? We already touched this today on the stream, and one way is to just go to the web and use the web tool if your agent supports that. Nowadays, most modern agents do. That's one way, and for this, you would have to actually ask to go to the web, to go to read some docs online, and then do something about that. Now, another way of doing that that not everyone is actually aware of, and maybe not everyone noticed, that you have this docs button in the chat in both Windsurf and Cursor, and it will open some docs that are already pre-fetched for you. And in Cursor, they actually even have Flutter docs, which is really interesting for me because I didn't know that. I only found out when I explored this. And unlike that, in Windsurf, they do not really have Flutter out of the box, but you can use @web to force a docs search for the docs that you need. And also for the Cursor, you actually have an option to save your URL with custom docs that you plan to use. So you can save URL with your favorite library from pub.dev. And next time when you press this docs button, it will be available for you in the docs. Now, another tool that you could use is called Context 7. And that's using or fetching the docs via MCP server, which I think Sercan will be speaking more about today. But if you want to use this one, they have over 10,000 different docs available. They're not specifically for Flutter and Dart, but more like for every possible library or framework out there. You can find lots of stuff there. They are free for personal use, and you have to use the words use context 7 in every prompt that you need your docs for. Now, what I have experimented with is that I have created my own repository because, as I said, I found myself repeating stuff over and over again for my AI workflow, where I just fetched some docs that could be popular or that I was using, and I made this repository public so that if anyone wants to use it or wants to contribute, you are free to do so. So let's see. By the way, if I am going over time, please yell at me because I am not really following how long is this taking. So this is my repository here. And the idea was that we can fetch some docs like Flutter and Dart, maybe some newest Dart 3 features that not every model is aware of. And we can do a kind of compact or truncated. Hi.
Checking how it's going and here to make some comments. Maybe you would like to show us the README part, what's going, what is available in this repository.
Sorry. Can you repeat?
Yeah, maybe you can show us like what is available in the repository in the README part. I can see you can show the pre-combined rules, individual rules, like maybe with some examples of what they can copy paste or like check around.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just quickly showing this small README under the combined folder, where I have already counted how many characters each of this rule set will take. So you can be sure that you can put them in the windsurf and they will pass the limit. But what I have here in my repository, the main two folders are this combined that I just showed you, where we combine different official docs into one file. And the example could be like this Flutter and Riverpod. So under 6,000 characters, you have some core Dart principles, some Riverpod fundamentals, few examples that are necessary for LLM to understand how things work, how to use ref, state management, testing, and at the end, I also included some Dart 3 features, again, because not every model is actively using them from my experience. And how you can use this is you just grab the code, copy it over, and if you open your windsurf, first of all, you can use global rules from the settings. Like this, I will just find my rules, and here I will have some global rules that I am using as an example, and I can just copy everything here. This is useful if I am using the same approach for every project I am working on. Maybe I just use Flutter and Riverpod for every project, and that's then the good start, and I can pretty much finish here and start vibe coding from here. Another option to use these combined rules is to open windsurf rules that I have mentioned today and create some rule set that will be always on. Remember, we have 4 activation modes, and these work very similarly in both windsurf and cursor. So I will say always on, and I will just copy over my rules. And you can see that it also tracks how many characters I'm using, so we are good to be using this. Now, going back to the repository, this was an example with combined rule set. that respects the limit. What I also have here is that I have the full files. So I have fetched pretty much all of the rules, numbered, quite compact for, let's say, block. And it's a full file that you can reference if you want to use block in your project. There are also a couple ways of doing this. So one way, let's go back here, we have our globs. And if you create a new rule here under your rules, you can call it, maybe I can show you. Let's say I call it block globe MD. And because the file is in the correct folder, the windsurf immediately understands that this is a rule file and asks me to select this activation mode, which by default is manual, but I want to use globe here. And similarly, how in this test globe, which I can use for test files, I can copy this here and say, for example, qubit and block, which means that every time where we are discussing files that match this pattern, the rules from this file will be applied. And the rules I can just, again, copy and paste here. Now this, as I said, it's a full set, so it was not truncated. But if you just copy it and paste this, then the windsurf will just crop this for you. So I can delete this last rule that was not full now, and this is what I end up with. And every time that when the agent will encounter one of the qubit or block files, it will make sure to check for these. Now, another type was on demand. And what you could do here, and someone already mentioned today that your rules could be also created automatically for you. And I also really like this idea. So here, for example, you could say, when I ask you to update rules, something like evaluate the errors you've encountered during last step and consider which rules under windsurf rules folder you would update. And stuff like that would help you to kind of train your agent to update the rules for you. And you will end up with a rule set that is very tailored for your project or for your team, your coding practices, whatever you prefer. Because I think one of the most important things about rules with this wipe coding tools is that they are extremely flexible. So you have your options. You can select how to work with them. Another thing that I wanted to quickly show you is that here in my flutter-ai-rules, I have prepared this terminal command that you can just copy. And you can run that in your terminal. And it will copy all the full rules to your repo as docs. So with one command, you have all the rules as docs. And next time you want to do something, you can say, I don't know, create Firebase aus controller. And you can reference the whole Firebase folder or one file that you are particularly interested in, like this. And that's how you get your context. Well, this dummy app is actually a tic-tac-toe game, so I'm not sure what will happen if I actually ask it to do that. But this is how simple you can reference your rules. And my idea was that first you copy the full rule set, and then you adjust based to your needs. So maybe you don't need this first one. Maybe to you, it would be more important to say something like use solid principles in your architecture, something like that. And with time, your rules evolve. And as I said, they get tailored to your project, which I think is really useful. Yeah, and here you can see that it picked up the, yeah, it didn't. For some reason, it wanted to create documentation. Let's start again. Oh, I think I know. That's because I didn't really reference my actual app. So this is my tic-tac-toe game. Let's add Firebase out. This is prompt engineering here. Now I'm trying to be more specific on what I wanted to do. And you can use Firebase of docs as a reference. Let's see if this will be better. Yeah, now it will explore the app first. And then see if we have some features. And now it will read the documentation. Now it picked up the idea that this is documentation for the project. And then it proceeds with installing some dependencies because I don't have my Firebase yet and stuff like that. Before I finish up, I also wanted to quickly show the cursor part about the rules. So in the windsurf, we have them here. In cursor, it looks very similar. And sometimes you might be in the situation where you are working with windsurf, your teammate is working with cursor. You want to find a way to migrate easily from one rule set to another. I have tried doing this, and it's actually quite easy. You just copy over this file. You can paste it here, but you will have to rename it because Cursor uses MDC format. And when you rename it, you also have to select this. And yeah, it didn't actually migrate, probably because I didn't save my previous one. Okay, save. I did try this before and it was working. Always on. Paste. MDC. Yes. See, now it's migrated because I have saved the file. So it picked up all the rules that I have used from the repository. And I just need to change this rule type. This one, it didn't pick up from manual to always. Now I have these rules here in my windsurf rules and the same rules here in the cursor. And if you want to automate this even further, you could write or vibe code some script that would do the whole thing for you. So you would select which folder is your kind of source of truth, and you would populate the rules from it to different IDE settings. Let's get back and see.
So I'm curious how many of these rules are still just completely 100% handmade, or if you've gone back and occasionally asked the LLM, are there different rules that I should add to this list or that I can optimize this list to be? Have you ever asked that of an LLM?
Yes, absolutely. I have used LLM to refine them. The ones on my repository are pretty much all just from the docs. They are not so much refined, but the rules that me and my team work with on the project, normally my approach is to ask LLM to work on their errors. So like if we struggle to write, I don't know, a test, for example, I would say when we got it correctly, I would say now let's analyze what were the problems, what were the issues that you've encountered. Okay, it will analyze, it will give me some output. Then I will say, okay, now can you put all of these conclusions as a numbered list of rules that you would use next time to avoid this type of errors? And then you can use that numbered list of rules to either update existing rules or maybe even create a new file right here in your rules about, for example, testing or about some specific problem that you encountered. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you today. If you have any questions while I'm still sharing, let me know. Otherwise, I will stop sharing at this point.
I think this was a great presentation.
That's
And you saw
fantastic.
a lot of rules that I want to actually just check right after just right after the stream, and I will also I will just like compare with my rules, and I will be like, yeah, I get the good of mine and the good of hers, and then just make a combination of
Exactly.
this, and like, you know.
Yep.
As I was looking at this list, the first thing that came to my head is Randall needs to add RooCode to have,
open a PR.
Exactly. This is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Can do.
That is awesome. So questions.
So we do have one question from our own. Where did it go? Oh, I'm in the wrong window here. This one, yes.
I got it.
Yep.
I knew you will ask for this.
Ezra, do you want to read your question?
I was like, oh, what is this one in your local?
Yes. So a colleague at work recommended to me this tool called sly.dev. Let me put it into the internal chat, and maybe someone can share it because I'm not logged into the chat, the external one. And yeah, this is a really great tool. I pretty much vibe coded my presentation UI-wise. So I knew what I want to say. I knew how I want that to look. And I tried this tool to make the actual slides. Did I spend 6 hours just vibe coding? Yes.
Nice.
Would it be faster to just write it myself in half an hour? Absolutely. But I learned so much, and I think it's really, I mean, from all the tools for slide deck making that use AI, this one doesn't necessarily use AI, but you can plug this one in to your Windsurf or Cursor or whatever you are using and do some interesting things with this. So highly recommended, and thanks Toms from my work for recommending this to me.
Sure, I was like thinking whether it's the Flutter deck or another thing.
Nope.
And when we mentioned about this, I was actually talking about this one. Then you can actually check this is Mangarda's work about creating presentations again. Yeah, I would definitely check that one because Right now, I'm also getting some presentation content with AI, like we are brainstorming and something. And it's actually a little bit trouble of copy pasting still content around.
Yeah,
It's way
totally.
better. Thank you. That was my just only question.
I'm glad you
We're
asked the
getting close
question
to-
because I'd not heard of slide.dev. So thank you. We have that, and thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So now we have Sercan.
Okay, I think it's me now. So I already shared my screen. You can give it, yeah. Like on my part, mostly I didn't prepare any presentation, so it's gonna be hand of coding mostly, and giving some live share through the MCPs and cursor, and how can you like implement AI integration on your workflow. Most of the part is mentioned by Ivanna, but I will do some additions on them, and like show lively like how it's actually working and ongoing. So first of all, I have like basic Flutter project with an architecture, like basic architecture here, just like the core part, services like dependency injection, model repositories, etc., and some UI classes here. Like the main part
Can
we
you just zoom
use.
in a little bit? Then I will just like remove myself from the stage so that it's readable.
Sorry, what?
Just couple steps to zoom in, then we are good.
More zoom. Okay.
Just a little.
Here we go. Is it okay now? I hope so.
Great.
Okay, so we have this kind of project. Let's say like you have new on the development, and you just like get some project from GitHub, or get some project or architecture from somewhere else. It's mostly ready to go, but you want to add your features, your UI, and you are already found some UI and some good packages, some repos like repositories on GitHub, and you want to combine everything all together on your project, but you don't know how to do that, or you don't know how to tell that to the AI to do so. On that, yeah, we have cursor rules, we have like rules that we can put on our project and like lead us to the implementation as we want. But more than that, as we newly have like MCPs, model context protocols, that the AI and systems can collide, can understand each other with that protocol. So we can also implement that with that way. So first of all, like also Ivanna mentioned about cursor rules, but I want to show you like my setup, how I use, like it's mostly same, everything is same. But like after showing that, you can understand like how easy to add a feature, a service with that implementation, because like I have my architecture, as I said, and I want, like, for example, I use get it for dependency injection, and when I say to the cursor or to the AI like to do like to add some service, for example download manager, or like download service, or storage service, or Firestore service, I want to like create the service, like create the repository, create the UIs, like connect all together, and also like add to the service, to the dependency injection, so I can use the same instance later on the like when the app is ongoing. So for that, like I have like simple cursor rules for that. Like it's mostly the first part is like the generic cursor rules, for example like Pascal case for classes, the how like creating the classes, how like giving the name, how to like giving like some exceptions, how to like describe the functions, and I actually telling to the like AI, to the cursor, like when I like say to create that function, or like create this, how the functions should be, because it's my style, I want to be like on this part, like I on this way, and also like the nomenclature, the basic principles. also like you can give this part, because it's like generic part is like generic rules, and you can give this inside the cursor rules either, or in the cursor, like we can also separate this part, like for example, on the settings, on the cursor settings, when you go on the rules part, there's actually say like the user rules. Actually, this part, when you like create your user rules, is actually duplicate and use them on each project you create. And then for each project you have to create your cursor rules, like for project rules. So actually what I did here, like I got the general rules what I want to the same code palette for every project that I created. I put it as a like general rules, and then for the specific rules for Flutter, I wrote just my rules, like is like here is the repository, here is the model part. When you create service, you have to do that, and for the like, for example, like use free state classes for UI state, for example. And when I put this inside the project, like for example, I create a Flutter project and put them, it actually depend on that rules. And on the second hand, like when I create a web project, I actually only changing these specific rules for that like project here, or from here creating a new project rules for that. If you have like the cursor rules, you have to like check this check mark here, like to apply this cursor rules file, or otherwise it will take the general rules and the project rules for you. And when I like early on the early stages of the cursor, like probably it's the previous May or like June or something like that, I actually like checking around like the cursor rules, or like how to create rules over the cursor. And I found like this site, like cursor.directory. So you can find most of the rules created for any framework or any language. And also like I do some collaboration on that on the site. Like I added like some Flutter rules on that, like on that part, like 1 year ago. And also like the fun part, when I added that, I actually like laid off a couple months ago before I added that rules. And after like a month ago, the Flutter developer from my previous previous company called me and say like, hey bro, I know we fired you, but we are still using your cursor rules. We found you on the cursor that directory, and just want to like say you thanks about this, because we fired you but we still using your rules. Like it was funny on that time. But now like as everybody like using the cursor, windsurf, or any AI tool on their project, it's become more normal nowadays. So also like here, like when you like search about some Flutter, you can find like couple Flutter rules as well, but it's mostly like some web. So you can find any. It's not basic, like it's not like it's not like mostly some generic based on the architecture or based on the package or library rules. Is mostly generic ones. But like as you want to create like a much more good rules, you can use them. So this is like the most basic part. After like describing your all the rules and all the stuff, like just adding some comment like hey, I want to add some let's say download manager to the project based on my, and let's say cursor rules. Oops. Oh, it's already on the top. Based on my rules, and it automatically will understand what I described as dependency injection, as freeze, as like UI, all the stuff, and it will gonna create the service format for me, and it will connect it to the dependency injection. And when I say like add some UI on it as well, and it will also do that. Like for example, it just created the model, but as I said on my rules, like use freeze to create the models and create them inside the model class. It automatically created this on the related part and use the related package, as I said before on the rules. And like for the service is just create service inside the services as like expected, and it will go on like that. And after that, like after a couple minutes, mostly it will be ready to use the service. And while we waiting that, because like after that I will tell it like to do some UI stuff, like to like you just created the download service, okay, now let add the UI as well, and it will do that part as well. Well, it's already created the state and the controller by itself, and probably gonna create the UI of it. And in the meanwhile, like yeah, we had this kind of stuff, and it's perfect for us like to creating stuff or getting stuff from internet and implement to the code directly. But mostly like also you will see it like it will have some errors, it will have something it's not like fully implemented or like fully generated. It will like misunderstood couple lines or will not write some parts good. So what about that, like what we gonna do on that part? Like should we gonna overdo every time, like overfix the AI every time while he like it created a class for us? Actually no. So also we mentioned earlier on the stream like about MCPs, how they gonna work, and all the stuff. But I want to just show a like quite good example to make it more clear how actually the MCP is working. And like okay, we are saying like model context protocol on the previous like on the basic two services can understand at the moment, like let's say REST services. It's gonna like send JSON, get JSON, and they're gonna understand each other, like because we're gonna send the request, get the response, and everything gonna understand. Or at the end it will gonna some error, but we can also understand it is an error on that part because we know like it's 200 or 400 for whatever. But what about like the model context protocols, how they can understand each other, and how the things gonna work on that part? And for that, let's say like everyone, I think everyone can reach to the like OpenAI console at the moment, like to on the dashboard, on the playground, and do some funny stuff and like see how the like OpenAI or like the APIs, the LLMs work. Like we can try them. But while we're trying them, actually here, like we can describe the model, what we're gonna take the response, and we can describe some other like stuff here, like temperature, the other stuff, etc. But also we can define the response model of the answer. For example, when you create a new thing on the playground, it actually the response format will be text. But what if gonna change on the JSON schema? It will tell you that you can add some JSON that will be your that create your schema. And while you creating the schema, actually you can easily click the generate and say like I want to create a schema for that thing, and it will create you automatically. And after you created your schema, you will see that the schema type will be object, and inside the object I will have something called location. Probably it's gonna be some property because it's gonna be inside the properties. It will location, and the location type will be again object. So inside the location I gonna have properties again. I don't know like if it's enough. Yeah, it's much clear now. Okay, sorry. I'm taking from beginning. So when you click like generate and generate your response format, it actually generates you something like similar to the JSON. It's actually JSON, but it will say like inside your schema the type is object, and the it will have some properties, and you have some your location property, and your location property also will gonna be object. And inside that object we again have some properties, and we will have longitude, latitude and longitude, and the type of it's gonna be number, and the description for that property it will gonna be like the latitude of the user photo location, and also on the longitude it will be same. And also there is some command like say required, and we will put some properties inside it that we are saying the latitude and the longitude properties inside that object are required, so you have to return them to us. And also I have another like object here, and the type is gonna be string, and in the description I'm telling that this is gonna be linked from the Google Maps and blah blah, you created the latitude, longitude. And also there is another object called type string, and the description gonna be the agent response. And for the whole object, for the whole schema object, I will also have some required stuff, and inside the list I am saying like the location also is required, the Google Maps link required, the content is required. This is actually these properties I created here. So location, Google Maps, content, there you have to return them. So this is actually what model context protocol looks like. You actually, when you sending like when the LLM like says to the service, for example GitHub, and say you say like your LLM like go my GitHub and get this thing, it will actually send to the GitHub a question like user wants this repository, and from that class inside that repository to be returned. So you have response type like this, please give me response. And if you use the MCP of GitHub, GitHub will return you something like this. So it will like contains all the like objects, properties, like all the stuff. So the LLM can understand what GitHub says, so you can use that MCP efficiently on your part. So actually I just want to like show that so you can understand, like we are saying MCP here, but what's the type? Like it's not JSON, it's not XML, so what's gonna be on that part? So it's need to be clear. So after that, after I'm creating my schema, I just like put my photo and send it, and it actually returned me the exactly what I wanted. Like it will include location, and inside the location property, location object, it will have property as a number, latitude and longitude as a number, and I have the Google Maps link, and I have the content back. So I said LLM something, I expect the response model, and LLM returned me as I expect. So this is a quite simple example about how actually MCP is working right now. Like if you're gonna have your service and you have to like respond as a MCP, you can check out like the other MCPs repository as well, how they are created. But you will see something like that, like you have to return response like this if you have to respond, your service want to respond to a LLM. And when we called MCPs, okay, like MCPs, but what MCPs we can use? Like, for example, what are the limits? What we gonna do with all that stuff? So yeah, we can have the GitHub MCP. So actually, your cursor, your cloud, or whatever agent you use actually can go to the GitHub and like using the MCP can get what you want. Or you can use the Figma MCP, and you can say your cursor like, hey, go to that Figma file, and on that Figma file I have this like search button, for example, and I want to implement this on my code, and it will find it, and it will take all the like response from that button, like the color, like the height, width, and all the stuff, and it will implement, because it will have all the exact same data from the Figma. It will implement it as a as it is on the Figma file. And for example, another example, Postman. You can use your Postman MCP, and you can say, hey, cursor, like use the Postman MCP and get me to that project. I have like all the get, post, all the commands, like all the endpoints inside that Postman. You can get all of these on one single MCP prompt, and it's gonna be implement to your project. Like if you're gonna use like DIO and retrofit inside your project, it will gonna immediately create all the endpoints in one single MCP command. And yeah, more of that, like you can use Puppeteer MCP just to like say to the like cursor, like, hey, cursor, like use the Puppeteer MCP and go to that like website and see all the like content and implement this feature to the project. And it will go to the website, like search all the like take all the like screens, like context from the Puppeteer, and see all the like actual website content and get you back and implement what you want. So you can find more in the Scimitar AI. Actually, like this mostly become the GitHub of MCPs, what I understand on nowadays. Like probably it's become the GitHub of MCPs, and you can find any MCP tool on the Scimitar AI. And for implementing, it's actually very easy. Actually, you have to like connect your GitHub account in that, and after that, like for just one MCP, when you go inside, you will see here on the like right side, for automatic implementation, you can select your ID, like whatever you like running at the moment, cursor, Windsurf, or like Cloud Desktop, or you can just get the JSON or get the URL and run on the terminal, and just it will implement it. But for the like cursor, you can also like add it with terminal command, or you can just get the like this part of the code and go to your cursor file, like on your cursor settings, and inside the cursor settings on the MCP, actually you can just here you can find your MCP servers, and when you like add the context 7 MCP, it just get added to my like MCPs, and here I can see it like context 7 MCP just added, and it can like resolve library IDs and get library documents and all the stuff that I can do with that MCP. You can see like all the tools that MCP can do. For example, for the Figma, I can like get Figma data and download Figma images for me. And for the Puppeteer, it's doing like bunch of stuff. And for the GitHub, like it will do anything. Just I will tell. And more of that, like actually the download manager mostly is there. I just have to like run. Wait, I just have to like run the Flutter runner command to run the like the necessary stuff, and probably it's gonna be ready to use afterwards, and also like it created the UI for me. What a cool stuff! Like it's created UI for me, and it created like as I said with freeze UI. Probably like it's gonna be some issues on that, and it's like in the single command probably I will have some errors, but it's not problem for me at the moment. It can be fixed later. And rather than that, for one MCP, like for one MCP example, I just want to like show you before that, before you using your MCP or like adding some MCP, you have to here on the features, I guess, yeah. I'm just searching. Yeah, here. On the features part of the cursor, you have to enable this part, like allow agents run tools without asking confirmation. So if you like enable that, it will can run MCP tools without asking you. Like otherwise, every time you have to ask like about MCPs, it will wait confirmation from you. The good part is that you can run MCPs without any confirmation and it will do anything. But the bad part and the dangerous part, it will be like as the MCP have tools, something like to delete or do some harm on the other side. Or for example, like you connected your GitHub repository with the MCP and it can also delete your repository. So please take care on that. And for like writing commands, or you can just add it to the command allow list. Like you can do these commands, but for like removing, you just you can't do them. You can as the allow list or deny list. And also like for MCP tool for like MCP tool protection, also it will ask you about like if enable prevent the agent from running MCP tool automatically. And I didn't like click that because I want my MCPs can run over my prompts and without asking me any permission. But for that, for deleting file protection, I enable that because I have the file system MCP. What it does, it can like copy any files from the file system and can read it, can delete it, can do anything with that file or create a new files for me. And for that, like I don't want like it delete files without asking me. So that's why I like enabled that here. And after that, like mostly the MCP part gonna be ready to use. And when I say like, for example, hey, let's say I have GitHub repository called, what was it that? Let me take a look. I just forgot about my library name. Yeah, let's take MovieDB Flutter. So I have like repository called MovieDB Flutter, and I want to take the animation part of the home view dart of that one and implement to the current project. And let's like after saying that, it will run to the MCP. Let's see. Oh, it's directly went to the web search. Okay, again. Let's say over MCP. And after that, like it will go with GitHub MCP I'm just waiting to the right thing here, but it's again went to the web one. Let's say over GitHub MCP. Yeah. On the demo, it happens mostly. Yeah. So,
That's okay. Whenever
if
someone's doing
it's
a
gonna,
live demo, things get messed up. It happens.
it took to the web MCP instead of GitHub MCP. So if I say it like maybe
it's tired.
probably and it will actually call to the MCP of the GitHub. It will get my GitHub repository, and it will get that file, read that file, and understand like all the logic inside that, and it will take that logic and put inside my current home view, what I have right now. But yeah, mostly is that I don't know like if it's gonna create and do that right now. Like it's AI. Like I can't trust it anymore.
I think what you've shown has been fantastic.
Yeah, mostly. When
I have to go back and rewatch it, and so I can stop it as I go through.
Yeah, mostly when you call MCP and give the MCP name, it will work without any problem. But I actually do the demo 3 times with myself today, but it run without any problem on the first 2. But yeah, mostly all of it what I will tell about MCPs, but I hope you will understand about how the model context protocol and they can understand each other, or you can implement MCPs on your workflow and you can use them.
Yeah, I think that's great. We definitely need to have you both back because there's a lot that people can learn from this. So thank you for coming and presenting. I will do a better job of doing the time estimates on this stuff before our speakers. We had stuff we needed to do, so we went long. Sorry, folks. But it's been good. It's been fantastic seeing things. I definitely want to thank Ivanna and Sercan for coming, Ezra for your presentation, and for people who we were going to do RooCode rules, and we're going to wait and do those in a couple of weeks, just because we want to be respectful of people's time. And a few things that we definitely want to share is, hold on, let me add this. So who can join FCAIC, Flutter Community AI Circle? Anybody? Anyone who is interested in Flutter. If you, I lost my slides, sorry. And if you're a beginner, you're curious, this is why we're here. We're trying to help you. If you're somebody who has lots of experience and you want to share, please let us know, and we can have you come and speak. And this is where you can contribute. We have some surveys. I'm getting ready to put some QR codes up here. We really want more people to join the community and engage. We are still working on our websites. We don't have that one quite ready yet. We're getting closer. So please complete the community survey if you have not done it yet. And the contributors, if you're someone who would like to contribute either on a live stream, or you've got materials out there that you would like us to have a link to the website, because we want to have a central repository for people to go in the Flutter community for AI content. So we will have that. So please fill those out. I will add the links to these. So hold on. They're going to be in the chat. Oops. Hold on. It didn't paste well. And then we have, okay, hold on. There we go. Gotta love live stuff, huh? We also have, oops, I went too far. We also have the Flutter Community Forum. And in there, we now have an AI Circle category and a chat. So please join us there. And I am adding those links now as well. And it puts a double quote around everything, so it takes me a second. There we go. And then we have a playlist for Norbert's vibe coding that happens on Sundays. Yesterday's had to be rescheduled. So you can just subscribe to the Flutter Community YouTube. You can also save the playlist that we have. We have one now for the Flutter Community AI Circle, this stream. Also in Jen presented his MCP Dart package on a previous Hump Day Q&A. So I have those to share. And those will also be in the chat. Oops, maybe not. I went too many characters. Okay, I'll come back and do that as we're continuing to wrap up. Here we have we'll do it this way. So here's the Flutter Community AI Circle, the playlist for this, and you're able to watch previous streams and also see when we have one coming up. Then there's Norbert's.
You can find these in the comments to copy paste all.
And there is the Hump Day Q&A live stream for Jen's presentation. And I think that was it there. I will stop my share. Again, I want to thank our guest speakers, Ivanna and Sercan, for coming, Ezra for yours, Randall for yours, and we've got some feedback coming from somebody, not sure where.
Noise somewhere.
We are not live streaming next week because of Google I/O. We will be back in 2 weeks, and we will be covering the RooCode rules and some more things because we're sure we're going to learn some more about Google's AI stuff next week at I/O. So thank you all for attending. And let's see here. We are going to sign out and have some music in the outro. And here we go.